It is Perry Wooden, the founder of Node 40, and we were just talking to him about how he got into tech and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and Dash. And interestingly enough, more and more these days, he observes people are getting into cryptocurrency through Dash, through a referral system that they have. You're talking about a referral system that Dash 40, Node 40 has, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Well, let's get to it. Let's talk about Node 40. And I know a big part of I know essentially the service of Node 40 is Masternode services. For our listeners who don't know, tell us what is a node, what is a masternode, what is an incentivized node, and how does all this relate to the services offered by Node 40?
All right, so node, masternode, and incentivized node. All right, so Dash has a two-tiered network as opposed to Bitcoin's single-tiered network. And so when we're talking about this network is comprised of nodes. And these nodes, in the case of Bitcoin and in the case of Dash, they all have this copy of the blockchain, and they're responsible for moving messages around the network. So in the case of Dash, you have a second tier of nodes, and these are also full nodes. They contain a full copy of the blockchain. But what they allow the Dash network to do is build on these additional features, such as the instant send and the private send that Dash is really getting a name for. Now, the interesting thing about these second tier nodes is the Dash network incentivizes people to run them. So right now, all of the Bitcoin nodes are kind of run on either a volunteer basis because people think Bitcoin is really cool or cryptocurrency is really cool, or because you are a company that is vested in Bitcoin. So you feel a certain responsibility to run these nodes. But that's really an altruistic way of running a network. And maybe from a business perspective, that's not the best way to run a network. So if you talk to economists, they're going to say, how do I get people to do things I want them to do? And you do that through incentives. So what Dash did was it took a percentage of the new blockchain emission and gives that to the people who are running the infrastructure for the network.
Pretty neat. And yeah, we've talked a little bit about that before with other people from Dash. And absolutely right. I mean, things can be run on the basis of altruism, but ultimately, profit incentives are more powerful and longer lasting. And that is one of the things that does make Dash superior ultimately to Bitcoin is it's able to get things done, incentivizing people's profit motive. And that's a real advantage to it. And so what then how does Node 40 fit into all this?
Okay, so Node 40 fits into this because running a full node on any sort of cryptocurrency network is not a trivial task. So you have to know how to set up a server, you have to know kind of security, you have to know network infrastructure. So we had lots of friends and family. This is really how Node 40 started. Lots of friends and family wanted to run these master nodes after I would not stop talking about it, but they didn't have the technical abilities to do it. So I started off by running master nodes for people, and even myself with experience in this world, I was struggling keeping these nodes healthy and online and running to support the network. So I started to invest a lot of time into making sure that these nodes are, robust and healthy. And as that continued to grow, I thought, well, this could potentially be a business model. So I checked in with a friend of mine. His name's Sean Ryan, and that was in January of 2015, and convinced him to be the co-founder of Node 40. And we decided to take this to a professional level. So create a platform where anybody who has 1,000 Dash can just plug in an address, the address of their 1,000 Dash, launch a server with the push of a button.
Wow, that sounds really easy. So you answered one of my follow-up questions about how hard it is to run a master node. So is it really that simple with Node 40 then to run a master node, like the push of a button? I mean, can anyone do it even if you have little to no technical knowledge?
Yeah, I think the big hurdle right now for folks is actually getting into cryptocurrency. So they have to get their hands on the cryptocurrency. But once they've done that, and all of our customers have done that, once they have the cryptocurrency, it really is that easy. It's sending 1,000 Dash to a public key in your own wallet that you hold. You never give that up to anybody else. And then you push a button on the Node 40 website. We launch the masternode for you, and then you just sit back. So we've had customers now that have been with us for close to 2 years, and their masternode has never gone offline.
So this is how I get to sit on the Caribbean sipping alcoholic beverages. Okay. Use Node 40 to run my master nodes, make money, kick back. I love it. And so how long, you kind of alluded to this, but then how long exactly have you guys been in business providing these master node services?
Yeah. So we had the conversation about starting the business in January of 2015. We officially started the business in March of 2015.
Okay. In the crypto space, that's quite a long time. I mean, coming on 2 years in just another 3 months. So that's pretty impressive longevity for the space. And real quick, because we definitely have bigger questions, but just out of curiosity, why the name Node 40? And you mentioned twice now the difficulty in keeping a node robust and healthy. I'm curious what that means and what that involves.
Okay, so why Node 40? Well, the node part's obvious, right? Because we're running nodes, which are servers, and then the 40 part comes. It's kind of a dig at the financial system. So I'm in upstate New York, but the 40th parallel runs through the heart of New York City. So that's really the old world financial system. So it's just a dig at the old world financial system.
Nice. It almost evokes like No 40 too, like negating the old financial system. I like that.
Yep.
And so what is a robust and healthy node, and how do you maintain that?
A robust and a healthy node is a node that is accessible and doing work for the network 24/7.
And go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason that's important with Dash particularly is with incentivized nodes, you get paid for providing a service. So if that node drops offline, so it's not a robust and healthy node, if that node drops offline, then you go to the back of the line for the payment queue. So nodes get paid in a queue, and as long as they're providing a service, the payment happens. If they happen to drop off the network, they go to the back of the line.
And what would cause a network drop off, or what problems might?
I mean, any sort of thing. I think most people that are trying to run master nodes are going to try to do it on the minimum requirements, because doing so, you're going to get the most bang for the buck. You're going to get the most profit. So if you're doing that, then you have to make sure that you're keeping your server healthy. So that's one. I mean, a server could go offline. A lot of people run these on virtual instances, so you're at the mercy of the host, and that host could go offline. And if you're running at a really cheap host, they might just turn it off and not let you know about it. So those are some of the reasons. And then there's also technical reasons for maybe the Dash software. This is new stuff. So there are bugs that can make it difficult for a masternode to stay online.
Yeah, inevitably, even with the most advanced software and best development team, you're always going to have bugs or little issues that constantly need updates or revisions or whatever. And people don't, if you're not behind the scenes or if you're not a software developer, you kind of can forget about that and how constant that is in any tech. But we're coming to a break with Perry Whidden, so stay tuned. We'll talk more about Node 40 on the other side. Guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show. It's our third segment with our guest Perry Whidden. And before we get back to him, let me throw out another CryptoCompare.com news bite. Circle cuts Bitcoin buying and selling in product pivot. Circle, one of the earliest and best funded startups in the Bitcoin industry, has recently announced that it will no longer allow users to buy and sell Bitcoin on the platform. The startup will instead focus on the soon-to-be-launched proprietary blockchain-based protocol called Spark. A blog post issued today reads, quote, "When we founded Circle, we had a vision and belief that it was finally becoming possible for money to work the way the internet works. A big part of that was a long-term bet on blockchain and digital currency technology, which we thought held the potential to provide the missing layer of protocols needed for open value exchange," end quote.
In other news, Circle's working on a new movie. It's a new version of Tropic Thunder, I think. Never go full retard.
Or what if they redid Steve Martin's The Jerk?
I mean, the Bitcoin company that doesn't take Bitcoin.
That is full R. Got to be PC, man. Well, let's get back to our guest, Perry Wooden of Node, founder of Node 40. And they've been in the business of running Dash master nodes for coming on 2 years in March. And off air, we hit upon a pretty good question for Perry. Some clarification of, I think, a perhaps mistaken notion by, I think, many people about how the master node, one aspect of how the master node system works. Now, Perry, we were under the impression that one of the ways in which master nodes worked with the 1,000 Dash collateral that they have was that they facilitated instant authorizations or instant sends of Dash by using a sort of, if you will, temporary escrow coin swap out. Now, is that correct? And if not, explain for us how that works.
Okay, so the collateral that people have to set aside, that they set aside to run a masternode, that never leaves their wallet. So those 1,000 Dash that are used for the masternodes are not used for other parts of, are not used as an escrow service. The way that Instant Send works is the inputs of transactions are locked. So let's think about this in terms of using dollars. When I go to my local coffee shop, I like to, if they don't accept cryptocurrency, I like to pay in cash. And if I'm going to buy a $5 cup of coffee, I can pay for that in many different ways. I can pay with a $5 bill, or I can pay with 5 singles. Now think of those 5 singles as the inputs to the transaction, because we have a $5 transaction. I'm going to hand the coffee shop owner 5 singles for that transaction. As soon as I hand the 5 singles, I've given up my ability to spend those 5 singles somewhere else. So the coffee shop owner has essentially locked the inputs. Now, that's how a Dash Instant Send transaction works as well. If I send 5 Dash via Instant Send, a group of masternodes come together and they agree to lock the inputs of that transaction so I can't double spend the Dash. Now, going back to the coffee shop owner, they have the $5. And when they want to secure that transaction, they can go to the bank, and they can do that at any time. So going back to Dash now, to secure a transaction, that's done just like any other cryptocurrency. The miners write the transaction to the blockchain. In the case of Dash, that's every roughly 2.5 minutes. So the master nodes lock the inputs, the miners secure the transaction.
Great explanation. And God, 10 minutes just sounds like an eternity compared to 2.5 minutes. A great explanation. Thanks for clearing that up. I think that was certainly here at the show we had a mistaken idea about that, and that definitely clarifies things. Well, let me ask you on a kind of related to a previous question. Now, you made it clear that how technically difficult it is, and even just practically difficult it can be to run a master node oneself, which is why Node 40 services are so crucial. You even said someone as experienced and technically knowledgeable as yourself had difficulty managing it at first, and that just goes to show you the level of difficulty. Of course, using Node 40, it's just click and go, basically, as you said. But what, aside from lifting off the burden of the technical side from the user, from the owner of the master node, how much input do they have to give otherwise in maintaining the master node or keeping their Node 40 account going?
It's very little input. So the only times input is needed is when they want to pay their invoice, or when they need to pay their invoice to Node 40. So that's an input. When Dash releases a new software version, at that point the customer needs to upgrade, and the upgrade is a 2-step upgrade. So in the case of a protocol upgrade, that's a major upgrade, and that's coming soon. In the case of a protocol update, the user has to update their wallet, and then they have to restart their masternode. So with Node 40, what we did was when there's a major release or when there's any release, we allow the users to upgrade their masternode servers. So those are the servers that we run, again, through the push of a button. So when the new version of Dash comes out, 12.1.x, whatever that's going to be, the customers will log into Node 40. They'll push upgrade to upgrade all of their nodes. All of their nodes will be upgraded. And then they'll have to download the new Dash Core wallet and issue a remote start. So that's really the most complicated input. Typically, when that's done, there's no interaction needed after that for a year or so, because we've seen these major upgrades happen about once a year. The other possibility for interaction with network is voting. So Dash has this governance system, and there are these budget proposals. And in Node 40, we list all of those out. If you host with Node 40, again, the voting is a push button yes or no vote.
Pretty awesome, pretty easy. Well, and real quick, tell us about the new protocol update coming up. We've probably been told this by Dash team members on a previous show, and I'm just forgetting. But what is the protocol update coming up that you alluded to? And then will Node 40 ever handle the software upgrades completely on their end?
I don't know the exact release date. So the last I heard was it's going to be after January 1st. But the new update for Dash is laying the groundwork for Evolution, which is in full development right now. So at some point, these two code bases are going to have to work together. But the new protocol update, 12.1, is laying the foundation for that.
Okay. Well, actually, I guess we did know that more or less, and that's what I figured. And so, will Node 40 ever fully handle the software updates for their clients, or is that just not feasible, or even a good thing necessarily?
It's a good question. Right now, it's not possible because the customer has to issue that remote start. But I don't know. There might be technological advancements in the Dash core code that could allow that somehow to maybe some sort of special key that allows operators to issue remote starts, and that's it. But I don't know the status of that.
Okay, and I can certainly see where that isn't necessarily a good thing because perhaps some autonomy needs to be retained by the owner of the master node just for their own security purposes or up to dateness on their end with the system. So, and of course, yeah, that does sound like a pretty big technical hurdle. We've got a little over a minute left. Would you? I guess. Well, actually, I guess let's wait till we get back. Basically, what I want to ask on the other side is how the master node reward system works. What would you sort of liken it to in the quote unquote real world, or maybe the traditional financial space? And then we'll get into some other stuff related to Dash specifically and what you see for the future of Dash. But we're talking with Woody Perrin. Perry Woodin. Perry Woodin, the founder of Node 40. It is a master node service. It is a unique service for a unique type of system like Dash's master node system. And we're very excited to have him on. And we're thrilled just to have a partnership with Dash in particular for the time being and to learn more about it ourselves. And that's what I love. Every time we have someone like Perry on or one of the team members from Dash itself, I learn something new, if only subtly new, about Dash and cryptocurrency and how they work. And that's a good thing. We'll talk more with Perry Woodin, founder of Node 40, on the other side. Stay tuned. Spain limits cash payments. After the cash limitations imposed in India, the Spanish government has also officially announced the formation of a cash limit proposal with the same mindset. Small payments going above the €1,000 margin will have to be settled via banking systems or existing financial networks like PayPal, which can be increasingly expensive due to transaction fees that do not allow users to keep their privacy. In the midst of the global economic and financial instability, reliance on safe haven assets like gold and Bitcoin should be prioritized. I agree with that last statement. And it is terrifying that you see virtually in lockstep over the past just year or so, tons of governments and central banks around the world eliminating their largest denomination cash bill, and it's literally been like, I don't know, a dozen countries, and it's hard not to believe that this is done in coordination by the central banks and by the governments, especially considering the temporal proximity of these moves. Not to get conspiratorial, although I sometimes do. It really is hard to not see this as a push for a cashless society.
Sometimes.
Well, maybe all the time. A cashless society, but in the wrong way. Cashless society, decentralized cryptocurrency, Dash, Bitcoin, great. Their kind of cashless society, not so good. But anyway, a little commentary on my part. Let's get back to our guest, Perry Wooden. And speaking of cash and finances, let's talk to Perry about the Masternode system and how it works with respect to its rewards. So basically, when you run a Masternode, you need 1,000 Dash to be able to, as collateral, to be able to qualify. At current market prices, that's it's about $9,000 or so. It's quite a lot. So you got to be a real serious and very much invested in the system, which I think is a good thing. But you get dividends for that, essentially. So I guess, Perry, if you would, tell us how this reward system works. And is it more like a savings account or treasury bond, or I guess to the extent that you can, like, what is there a particular financial instrument or asset that you would liken it to in the traditional financial system?
It's tough. It's a real unique investment. I think when you talk about dividends, that's what people like to go to the most often for an explanation, because it's something that we've all heard about. We all understand roughly how dividends work, but also it has the aspects of a savings account. So a savings account gives you a very small return, a very small percentage from the bank in terms of interest. But what makes Dash really unique, what makes the Dash Masternode reward or incentive system really unique, is that you have this collateral that you maintain control of 100%. This 1,000 Dash, like you said, it's about $9,000. And that collateral is completely liquid. So there aren't many investments, traditional type investments, where you could invest, you could buy an asset, get a return on that, and then liquidate it at any time. So if Dash suddenly went from, let's say, $9 to $20, if you're running a Masternode, go ahead and liquidate that, and there's no penalty for it. You've got 100% control of it. So I think that's a really unique aspect of this investment.
Just to clarify, when you say if you're running a Masternode, go ahead and liquidate that, are you saying that once you've started a Masternode with that collateral, you can then spend that 1,000 Dash, or do you need to have that secured the whole time you're running a Masternode?
You need to have it secured the whole time that you're running the Masternode, but there's nothing that says that you have to run the Masternode any longer than your heart's desire.
Okay, gotcha. That was good clarification. And do you know what is the kind of rate of return, and how is that determined? And then how is that done? Does Node 40 sort of help distribute those returns for their Masternode clients? And then can you give us an idea of the cost of Node 40 itself? Okay,
so the think of the number of Masternode. Think of the number of rewards are available as a giant pie. So the more Masternodes you have running, the smaller the slice of pie. And when we talk in terms of returns, there's two types of returns that you can talk about. So there's a volume return. As you're running a Masternode, you're getting paid directly from the network. So you're getting increased volume. So you've got 1,000 Dash, and say you get your first reward is about 2 Dash every 7 to 11 days. So your volume has increased. But that's different from the valuation increase. So the volume increase is roughly 9% projected annual volume increase. Now, the valuation gain can be substantially higher than that. So if your volume is increasing and the valuation of the asset is increasing, then you can start to see significant returns. So historic returns for us that we've seen on some masternodes that we hold personally have been 200 to 300% gains. That's because you're, again, increasing your value and increasing your volume.
And by value, of course, you mean the market value of Dash itself, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if Dash increases from $9 to $10, that's an increase in the valuation.
And the 2 to 300%, and obviously past gains don't necessarily indicate future gains, but what time horizon was that over?
That was over a 12-month time frame.
Nice. Okay, annual. That's really good.
Yep.
Well, and so tell us about the expenses related to using Node 40, and then you alluded to something really cool off air about sort of masternode financial reporting that y'all do. Tell us about that as well.
Okay, so we charge. You can pay us either monthly, quarterly, or annually, and we charge based on Dash. So the fee is 2.74 Dash per month, paid in advance, and then discounts for longer commitments. And so the reason we decided to peg our price to Dash was twofold: is we wanted to live that life of cryptocurrency where we're not necessarily exchanging for dollars immediately upon getting the asset.
Nice.
But also, what it did was it allowed us to keep building these new services. So we think of our relationship with most of our customers as a sort of partnership, where if we're helping you to do well, you're also helping us to do well. And to that end, we've encouraged our customers to think of their assets as investments and compare these investments to their traditional investments. In cryptocurrency, that can be really difficult because you start getting, say, masternode rewards that are maybe 2 Dash at a time, and the value on every single day could be different. So if you got 2 Dash Monday and then you got 2 Dash the next Monday, one Monday that could be worth $10, and the next Monday that could be worth $20. So how do you start to compare the performance of your masternode as an investment with other traditional investments? And what we did was we created what we call portfolio insight reports. So they will calculate the value of every single masternode reward that comes into your masternode with the current daily average. So the day that the masternode reward came in, we calculate what the US dollar daily average was. And so you can start to track the actual valuation and say, well, this is doing much better than my 401k, or this isn't doing quite as well as some of my other investments. And so now it's a tool, and people can see and really do that comparison shopping.
Cool. So it sort of facilitates their analysis of their portfolio performance and gives kind of transparency to that performance, so they don't have to, constantly try to do these calculations and conversions all the time in their own head. That's pretty cool. And is this service included with the masternode service, or is this extra?
Yeah, that's included with the masternode service. I want to say another thing about that is one of the reasons we thought this was very important is because Sean and I both have a couple of masternodes, and at the end of the year, we want to stay above board on everything. We're like, how are we going to pay our taxes on all this masternode stuff? Because we're getting mined rewards, and we're supposed to pay taxes on that, and then we're getting sometimes we would cash out some of the rewards to pay for bills. So we would recognize a gain or a loss on all of these transactions. So the masternode, the portfolio insight reports, they also track your gains and losses, and we can even calculate long-term gains and losses.
And so, I guess kind of clarify what you were just saying. Does it does Node 40 keep everything in Dash also to limit tax exposure? Because I know, like for instance, if like in mutual funds they buy and sell all the time, and this leads to complicated and sometimes expensive tax liabilities, is that an issue with the reward system using Node 40, or is it designed to limit that that difficulty and that tax liability?
Yeah, for our users, the reports are meant to be a tool that they can, have their accountant look at and easily determine what their liabilities are. Internally, when we decided to accept Dash as our main form of payment, some people decide to pay us via credit card, but most through Dash. We have to also calculate what the daily valuation is in U.S. dollars because we have to pay sales tax on our service. So it doesn't matter that we're paying cryptocurrency or not because we are a New York-based organization. So we're really cautious about reporting everything.
Yeah, understandably. Sorry to hear that. Well, and so, but just also, if I'm a Masternode owner and I'm getting dividends, if I keep everything in Dash, theoretically, I don't have to report taxes because the IRS treats it as an asset, right? And it's only once you realize gains or losses that you have to report anything. Is that correct? Or
well, so my understanding is when you purchase an asset such or Bitcoin, as long as you're not trading it and you haven't recognized a gain or a loss, there's no reason to report that.
Right.
But Dash rewards are a little bit different because the IRS looks at those as new currency. So it's almost a payment for service. And in the terms of Dash rewards, it certainly is a payment for service because you're providing a service for the network.
Oh, I see. It's not like a capital gains. It's actually like an income from service.
That's right.
That makes more. That makes sense. I see. Well, we're actually coming to break in less than 20 seconds. Can you hold on with us for up to another segment?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Excellent, because we still have some more questions for you. All right, we're talking with Perry Wooden of Node 40, node40.com. Check it out. We'll be right back, guys. Can't be trusted when hackers steal over $300,000 from one of blockchain's biggest VCs. A notable blockchain industry investor and founder of VC firm Fenbushi Capital, Boshen, was hacked in what seems to be the latest in a string of apparent social engineering attacks that have taken aim at cryptocurrency users.
That's what our last show was about.
Was it?
Yes.
I don't even.
That's why we were talking to Michael Perkland.
Who did we? Oh, Michael Perkland. Right. That's right, Percules. I'm amazed how quickly I forget. Literally the last episode. It's been a long week. The hacker stole and liquidated 110,000 REP, upwards of $300,000, plus an additional unknown sum of Ether owned by Boshen. After he was perpetrating the attacks, the hacker responded for money, obviously. That's amazing. That is brilliant.
That's Augur, by the way. REP.
Well, the liquidation of both Ether and Augur drove the prices down, although they have since then recovered. REP dropped from 0.0035 Bitcoin, then roughly $2.60 to 0.0026, $1.96. It's currently sitting at 0.0038, which they don't give us what that is. It's probably closer to 270. Ether dropped from 670 to as low as 610, and has since then recovered to $8.20. We're talking with Perry Wooden, the founder of Node 40, a company that for almost 2 years now, which is a like a, what do you call it? In a paleoanthropological epoch in crypto time. From one age to another, Pleistocene age to I can't even talk. But you get what I'm saying. It's like a dinosaur age in the crypto space. So they've been around a long time, is what I'm saying. Very experienced. They're good at what they do. Talking with Perry, the founder of Node 40, that handles masternodes, Dash masternodes for people, and it is a monumental task because try to do it on your own, and good luck. Well, let's see. We were just talking about the sort of reward system, the financial aspect of it, and Perry was telling us about the financial reporting that Node 40 provides for its clients as well, and we were kind of ferreting out the specific sort of tax liability, as he said. I was kind of under the mistaken notion it was like a capital gains, but it's really you're getting income for a service, so that's important to remember. Well, let's get to some other questions. Let's see, this is a good one from Harlan. Perry, do you think the masternode dimension of Dash investment helps in keeping large swings in the Dash price from happening? And does it make Dash a more stable cryptocurrency than most, in your opinion? Or what was your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think my opinion is probably backed up by looking at the charts. So if you look at the charts, and when you see volatility in all of the altcoins, the volatility in Dash tends to be less. And part of the reason, and Harlan got it right, is because you've got this reserve of really invested masternode holders who are not liquidating at any price. And that's really surprised me from seeing the price go from, say, $3 to, at one point $14 or $15. I was really surprised that we didn't see more people liquidating. And it's because they see this as a really good long-term investment.
Absolutely. I mean, to be able to invest $9,000 equivalent in a masternode, you really have to be in it for the long haul. And it's not just the fact that as the price has gone up to the current level, or even the sort of all-time high or near all-time high level, that you haven't seen major profit taking. It's also the fact that a lot of people will get scared from various pieces of news that either specifically affect Bitcoin, specifically affect Dash, or generally affect cryptocurrency, and that can lead to a huge plunge, if only temporarily, in the price. And that there's been little effects of that. No cryptocurrency is immune from that, but Dash really seems to have weathered a lot of those storms and maintained some price stability, and that's pretty cool about it. Well, what about budget voting? Are Node 40 masternodes able to vote on budget proposals on your site? And actually, you basically answered this question earlier.
Yeah, they are. So if you're hosting with Node 40, you can vote with the push of a button. And if you're just using Node 40 to monitor your masternodes that you're hosting on your own or somewhere else, then we still show you the budget proposals, and we show you the command line, that the command line string that you need to use to vote from your wallet.
And are they pretty up to date? And how many budget proposals get submitted on, say, a daily or weekly basis? And are there any sort of surges that you've noticed?
It seems that there are. I don't know the exact number, but it's on a monthly basis. You see maybe a dozen. I don't think you ever see more than a dozen a month, but that. I suspect that will increase as the valuation increases, and that means there would be more money for budget proposals. But right now, it's pretty manageable.
Awesome. And for our listeners too, remind us there's a fee for submitting a budget proposal, right, to prevent spamming?
Yeah, it's a $5 Dash fee, and that, or not $5, $5 Dash fee, and that $5 is burnt on submission of the proposal.
And when you say burnt, does it disappear from the ecosystem, or?
Yeah, it goes out of existence.
So is that deflationary in a bad way for Dash ultimately, or what corrects for that? Or tell us.
Boy, that goes into economic policy. I don't know if it's bad. It's a rather small amount, and if you've only got 12 of these a month, yeah, I really don't know the answer to that.
Right. Well, but for sure they disappear completely from the ecosystem. So theoretically,
right,
over time, it reduces the total number of Dash.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'd heard that, I thought, but I wasn't sure if that was correct, just because I was shocked by the nature of that. Well, that's interesting. We should talk to Evan Duffield maybe next time we have him on about more specifics of that. And what percentage of masternodes actually take part in voting, would you say? Of course, in traditional politics, traditional voting, it's only a minority of registered voters who ever vote. Is the same true with masternodes, or what can you tell us?
Yeah, I think that probably rings true for masternodes as well. I don't have I can look real quick. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I want to say that there's over 4,200 masternodes right now, and I think it's kind of unusual to get above 1,000 votes.
Oh, okay. I imagine, well, it's maybe a quarter, let's say. It's probably better than traditional voting systems as far as the turnout. I don't know that for a fact, but I would guess. And what do you think? Why do you think that is? I'm kind of surprised because having to invest that kind of sum of money, and considering the fact that unlike your average voter in a political system, I imagine your average voter who owns a Masternode is going to be
Those are noders.
no noters. I like that. That's good. I imagine your average noter is much better informed and much more motivated about the Dash ecosystem and budget proposals and whatnot, and the crypto sphere in general, than say your average voter. So why do you think so few participate, and is that a bad thing?
I think you're getting a lot of people that aren't participating because we're transitioning from cryptocurrency being in the realm of people who are interested in what cryptocurrency is to people interested in cryptocurrency because it's an investment. And I suspect that a lot of the people that see it solely as an investment, as long as they're happy with the direction that the value is going, they're not investing the time to look at each one of these budget proposals and vote on them. So because I'm in the business, I read every single budget proposal every single month, and I vote. But I suspect a lot of people are not doing that because it takes time.
Some months that could be a lot of reading. I know there was
It
one a couple of
can
months
be,
ago.
yeah.
There was like a bunch of them.
Yeah, and there's also comments on every single one of these.
Oh, that's true. I'm sure that can quadruple the actual reading you do. No,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense that the average budget proposal, even in the aggregate, is probably not going to have a huge influence on the price or the perception of Dash. So their time is better spent in doing other things than maybe sifting through all these proposals. That makes sense. In a recent interview with Amanda B. Johnson of Dash Detailed, creator Evan Duffield mentioned your company when talking about Masternode shares. Now, obviously, Masternode shares are a cool idea. They allow people with less money to invest to get involved in investing in Dash and in a Masternode. I'm not even sure. Are these Masternode shares already happening? Are they going to happen? And what will Node 40 look to do to help make this a reality or to get involved on its own?
So Masternode shares are already happening, but not by us. So the way people are doing Masternode shares right now is they're handing over their Dash to somebody they trust, and they say, please don't steal these, and share some of the rewards with me. That's not a really good solution, and that's why we don't do it. First of all, we legally can't hold somebody's assets. So we decided to stay away from shares. But what Evan was talking about was actually building shares into the protocol level so that you could have people that are saying, I'm going to set aside 100 Dash or 10 Dash for a Masternode, and then service providers, Masternode service providers, would see this pool of available Dash and then could start pulling bits and pieces in to lock them up for a Masternode. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work from that protocol level because that's probably still just in Evan's brain. But at some point, that's the direction he wants to go.
Well, technologic or technical feasibility aside, I'm sure it's feasible ultimately, although I imagine it's complicated to do. That would definitely be a better course because obviously the whole point of cryptocurrency, one of the points is being a trustless system. And obviously as innovations come along, a lot of innovations start out needing trust in third parties and eventually evolving into applications or programs that don't require trust. And that's,